There was another game as well. Saints conceding a late hat-trick meant a 3-1 victory for Manchester United at Old Trafford. I mean, we played well for 80 minutes, so close to something special, but still a heavy defeat. There were a few bits in there, I think, that impressed some of us. Steve, what impressed you about the first 80 minutes?
Well, the fact that we realised that United were there for the taking and just got on and did it. The only frustrating thing was that we weren't 4-0 up at some point midway through the second half, because that was kind of what the dominance should have turned into. I mean, you look at the sort of half-decent sides who have gone to Old Trafford in recent weeks. Brighton obviously were there yesterday and won 3-1, had another goal ruled out by VAR as well. Bournemouth went there a few weeks back and won 3-0 for the second year running. And this is becoming normalised now, and we've gone there and somehow contrived to lose a game 3-1, having basically only given up kind of 4 chances, really. I mean, Anthony's miss was quite something, but I mean that kind of sums that guy up completely, doesn't it?
Does Danny Baker still do a DVD at Christmas? That'd be on there for sure, wouldn't it?
No, I think Danny Baker spends most of his time just, typical old man yells at clouds scenario these days on social media, which is a bit disappointing. But
it would have made the DVD though. That was terrible.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean that was extraordinary. But yeah, we did so much right for the first. I mean, let's be honest. It was 65 minutes when the second and third subs were made. I think that was the point at which the tide properly turned, because we were fine for the first 10 minutes after Dibling's injury. When Smallbone came in, he was involved in a couple of nice little neat 1-2s that got us into some good space in midfield. But the problem was then when we then made the next set of subs, we basically sacrificed any talent, really, in terms of sort of attack mindedness. Anyway. I mean, it looked for all money, and certainly the commentators were saying that the word they got was that it was going to be Sulemana that was going to be taken off as part of that double sub. And it seems as if Juric changed his mind on the strength of Sulemana having another run at Yoro, the United centre back, who he absolutely terrorised all night. And as a result, he then took Fernandes and Aribo off, I think. So basically the two sort of central midfielders who were kind of on the ball. Ugachukwu came off. And all of a sudden...
He was later. It was Aribo.
He was the later one, was he? But all of a sudden they had so much space in the midfield because the players that we brought on were Armstrong and... I can't remember who else. I'm forgetting now. Downs, that was it. And yeah, suddenly United had loads of space to run through the middle, and they weren't really doing that in the first hour or so. But suddenly, with the changes, those players just never got up to speed. So yeah, that then gave them 25 minutes, half an hour of constant running at us. I mean, we weathered the storm for the most part, and then they get a really lucky ricochet with Ahmad's first shot that was blocked by Walker-Peters, just conveniently falls off of his shin right into his path for him to equalise. And I think realistically from there, I think we all saw what was likely to come. So yeah, very very disappointing after showing so much promise. Which is probably going to be the kind of gravestone heading for this season, isn't it? From so many games.
It seemed to me, Glenn, that everyone kind of knew what their job was and they just kind of like got about it for a change. And that was pleasing to see. And I was really surprised, actually, at some of the football and some of the chances.
Yeah, I mean, Steve said we should have been. I reckon 3-0 up. We had the double miss from. I mean, it's good saves by Onana, Dibbling, and then Fernandes blasted it straight at him. So that should have been a goal. And Sulemana absolutely terrorising that guy. That should have led to at least one goal. I think it's hilarious. It's always hilarious when Man United are terrible, and how their new manager left Yoro on his own against Sulemana when, even after half time, when he'd been beaten about 6 times already, how he left him there without giving him any help is just unbelievable. But we should have scored up. We should have scored more. Obviously, we get the goal in the end. I like the fact that Dibbling got above Martinez, who's one of the least likable players in the Premier League, the butcher. He's not very good, basically. Dibbling made him look an idiot on another one of the chances as well. I think it was that double chance when he sort of span round him. And we played some really good stuff. Joe Aribo, I thought that was his best game of the season. I thought he was tremendous in the centre of midfield. And when we took him off, that was a problem. And that substitution, that annoyed me a little bit because I just thought it was unnecessary. You should have kept him going. I know they probably got stats to say that a player's running less than he was 5 minutes ago, or that sort of thing. But I certainly wouldn't have taken him off. And the issue I have with the first substitution is that we were playing so well, and Dibbling gets injured. So make a like for like change. Don't try and be clever, and because it moved Fernandez out of his sort of like number 10 role, and he was having a brilliant game there. So they just sort of like move him as a right-sided attacker and put Smallbone in, and he's just sort of like, why have you made more change than you needed to? I know we could have brought. I know Armstrong's not great, obviously. Could have brought him on as the natural replacement for Dibbling, if you like, and just left everything else exactly as it was, because we're 1-0 up. We're such a fragile team. And the slightest change, or the more changes you make when things are going well, I just feel like it reminded me so much of the Leicester game at the start of the season, where we were 2-0 up and playing well, and then we started making substitutions, and then with every substitution,
that was triggered by an injury as well.
Yeah. So it was just terrible. That was terrible game management in that, and I have to say, I think Jurek got a lot of things wrong in that United second half. And the thing I couldn't believe was that at 1-1, he takes off Bednarek, who's the captain and the leader of the defence, and Ugochukwu, who's the main midfield player. So that's the spine of the team. And he brings on Nathan Wood and Tall Paul, which drops Will Smallbone back into midfield, where, it was just, and those last sort of 10 minutes were horrible. And the United second goal was a brilliant ball by Eriksson, but how much space did he have? We're walking around. We're not snapping into tackles at that point. It's just like, you give a class player like that time, then they're going to do that.
Like that Odegaard goal a couple of years back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just, you've got to be on it, and I think that's what Jurek wants. But he's got to learn quickly. There are some players we've got who are just not capable of playing that way. But we did play a lot of good football. I love the Sulemana performance. Can't believe I'm saying that. I like the fact. I love the fact that
it's January, isn't it?
He summed up early on that he was better than Yoro and he could run past him. And quite often, for some reason, players, when they've got that knowledge, they don't do it. But he was like, every time he got the ball, he was like, "You're useless. I'm going to run past you every single time." I just love the way he just kept on doing it. But it's just obviously the final end product wasn't quite there. But it's amazing that we're talking about what we're going to do in the next couple of weeks, and we're pinning on we're saying Sulemana's got to play now. He's our main striker, and he's still scored 0 goals for us in the league. But no,
is it
he was
a bit of January though? Do we think it's a bit of like the January transfer window and putting himself out there, Alfie, or is it more to do with sticking to players' strengths, and there's got to be a little bit of actually being asked to do what he's good at rather than having to do things that he's perhaps struggled with?
No, the obvious answer, we don't know, do we? We don't know what's in his brain. We don't know what he's thinking, what's motivating him, or how he feels about it. But from the outside, yeah, you could easily say that, because clearly, I think if the club were to receive a big offer for him relative to what they paid, they would probably accept it. Maybe against Ivan Juric's wishes, just because he for what he's offered, for what he's cost, is not very much over the course of 2 years. But equally, he clearly didn't get on with Russell did he? From the start, Russell didn't like him, didn't like the way he plays, didn't like how he tries to take people on and then doubles back and tries to take people on again, sort of thing. And I guess he just felt he wasn't really workable, and he's had a tough time with injuries as well. He looks fit at the moment, fitter than he did when Ivan Juric came in and said that he doesn't look fit. And to be fair to Kamaldeen, I mean, Ivan has come out and said, look, I've heard he had a bad attitude. He's not fit, and he's still managed to sort of come back and respond to it. So I guess he's not a case of he can't take criticism or he can't take anything like that. But I think just the way he plays obviously suits Ivan Juric. So I think it's probably a combination of all of those things. And yeah, I agree with Glenn. I can't believe that we're saying that, but he is their best option right now. So it's like the ball on Ashby. Go on.
Well, he was angry after the game, and he was talking about like player management, and this is something that we've obviously spoken about on the podcast quite a bit. But he was saying, I think, just I haven't got the quote in front of me, but saying we needed to be a bit more Italian and a bit more ugly. Do you think he's going to be teaching some more dark arts and be a bit more Serie A?
Yeah, it's quite a funny quote that. I mean, yeah, I come from Italy where with a masters of mentality, we need to be more evil. He said we need to be more evil. But I mean, that's the same thing that Russell Martin said, wasn't it? That they need to start taking these sort of tactical fouls, running down the clock, being evil. And Jack Stevens sort of tried that a little bit, and it's backfired for him.
We haven't seen him since.
Yeah, he is injured at the moment, to be fair. But yeah, clearly there is a they're soft, I guess, is the harsh way of saying it. Soft in the sense that all the managers who come in and work with them say they need to be less soft and need to be more evil, they need to be more clever, more smart, and also soft in the sense that they've conceded the most goals in the last 15 minutes of games in the Premier League of any other team this season. Soft in the sense that they've given up games in which they should have put to bed. So yeah, clearly that's a problem for them, and Ivan Juric is not the first person to identify that. And whoever picks them up next, I'm sure will probably feel the same unless they can recruit in the right way. So yeah.
I mean, Steve, just to kind of wrap up the Man United thing, I think Brentford was an absolute shambles, but it feels like it's been marginally better this week.
Yeah, I mean, would have been a struggle to be worse than
it's a low bar.
Brentford. Let's be very honest, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those, isn't it, where even though you've had 2 defeats, you can fish out some positives from. I mean, certainly Old Trafford, there were plenty of positives on show.
Plenty of positives.
And second half yesterday at the City Ground, I mean, if the luck's going for you, we get that equaliser. Just the way it's going, really. But yeah, I mean, there's something to work with there, and it's not a complete full-on cause in terms of the various records and stuff that we're kind of running down the clock against. I mean, be fascinating to see what sort of specific things Juric has planned for Saturday against Newcastle, given the way that they were so ruthlessly taken apart by Bournemouth. I mean, obviously Bournemouth are a much better side than we are, but does show that Newcastle do have a bit of a soft underbelly when you attack the right areas. So yeah, we'll see on that.
I'm going to ask you all about Player of the Week in just a moment. Anything else on Man United before we move on?
No, I mean, just to say, I didn't really sort of talk about the game in any way, and the lads have covered it perfectly. But I do honestly think that after that match at full time, just sort of sat there waiting for the manager to come in, that is maybe the flattest I've felt after a game in such a long time, because they really were brilliant for 75, 80 minutes. And I don't know, obviously you always have in the back of your mind is Saints, so anything could happen, right? But I just felt that this might be their time to do something, and I thought they deserved something. And then the way that they were just blown away in 10 minutes by a young player scoring a hat trick is such unusual circumstances. It actually did deflate me. I just felt that if they can't get anything out of that, then they're a lost cause, aren't they? So, but yeah, I mean, Steve's right. There's so much to be positive about with that first sort of 75 minutes, and I think that was why it hurt even more.
Albeit against the worst Manchester United team in the history of the Premier League,
which is a really strange media approach from Ruben Amorim, isn't it?
Yep.
Is that someone that wants to get sacked? I don't know. That's weird.
No, I don't believe in that sort of stuff. But clearly he's taking the whole own it, sort of, make the players own it to a whole nother level. Yeah, weird.
Let's do Player of the Week. Probably no surprise that Sulemana won Player of the Week last week for the first time which is a result. Who stood out for you this week, Steve?
I think the player who's kind of been front and centre both games is Matty Fernandez. I mean, as long as we can keep him fit for the rest of the season, then he's at least someone that's worth turning up to watch. And we might as well make the most of it because I'm pretty sure he won't be here next season.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Tall Paul just because he waited until you'd left the ground before he scored. Yeah,
he got a signal from someone.
Kudos for that. Any other names, chaps? Any others that we should add onto the list? Because we'll do the poll on socials.
Potentially Leslie Gachukwu, maybe.
Yeah.
Just thought it was good in both games.
Yeah.
Obviously, missed him when he wasn't playing. So,
well, the times he was off the pitch,
exactly.
we were pretty shambolic. So yeah.
You agree, Glenn?
I'd say Joe. Yeah, I'd agree with that. The Tall Paul. I love goals like that. You know, it's brilliant, and because it's him, and because of the story and the fact that he's an interesting player to score that goal, which is obviously what he's good at. That was it was a good moment. But over the two games, I'm going to say Joe Aribo because I thought he was really good against United.
Yep.
Similar sort of thing when he went off was when it started to go wrong. He ended up playing left-sided centre back against Forest when we were chasing the game in the last sort of 10 minutes. So he stayed on for the full 90 against Forest, and I thought he was one of our better players even in that shambolic first half. But so I'd go with Joe Aribo. I think he stepped up the last couple of games.